Hello, everybody. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining me again. This is our seventh episode of Meet the Candidates. As you all know, early voting has already started and is actually already almost over. This Saturday, July 30th, is the last day to vote early. So get out there, go ahead and vote early. Of course, we know Election Day is August the 4th, where we are going to go ahead and get started. My first guest tonight is Jesse Chisholm. He is our state representative for District 85.
Yes.
Welcome.
Man, thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I'm such a
Absolutely.
fan. Thank you so much.
Yes. So tell us, where is District 85?
So District 85 is I take the corridor between Shelby Drive and State Line Road, and I take it from 3rd Street all the way up to by Hillier Road in Collierville. So it's
Oh, wow.
so geographically it's a pretty large district.
Yes. So, what's the population? What's the constituency of that area?
That area is in my district is 74% African American. I have one of the most diverse districts in the state. Of course, I have the state line, so I have the duty of keeping a lot of our resources and finances here in Tennessee. So I
The
kind of joke with
Tennessee.
people and say I'm the
Yeah.
last line of defense.
Okay, that's the Tennessee Mississippi state line, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And what about numbers? Do you know the approximate number of people in that district?
So each house district normally has about 74,000 people in it.
Hmm.
So when we did redistricting this year, they broke it down into those numbers.
Okay. So this would be your second term, is that correct?
Just finishing up my second term. Uh,
Okay.
Lord willing, fingers crossed. We come out okay this on August 4th. We'll be going into our third term, 2 year terms. So it's been a complete honor to do the work. It's my labor of love. I really enjoy it.
So, what are some of the things that you have accomplished that you're proud of that you like to share?
Well, I get a chance to represent the fighting 85th district of the Tennessee General Assembly, uh, where I where I serve as the treasurer for both the Black Caucus and the Democratic Caucus. Uh, I got a chance to serve as chairman of the Freshman Democrats when I first came in, and I've been able to pass meaningful legislation. Because with the numbers being what they are, 26 Democrats and 73 Republicans, sometimes it becomes a challenge to even pass a bill with with no substance to it. But to be able to pass legislation that actually has some teeth in it, it makes me pretty proud.
So, tell us about some of that legislation. Well, in particular, I want to talk to you about some legislation that you were supporting that would ban solitary confinement for children and for pregnant women.
Yes.
Tell us
So
about
over the last 4 years, I have been on a crusade, so to speak, to end solitary confinement in Tennessee. I do a prison tour every year, and I get a chance to see where they hold these inmates. And as a state, I think it's time for us to start really rehabilitating people instead of setting people up for reincarceration. Because with the practice of solitary confinement, is so barbaric, and with us using that as a tool, it ended up being something damaging. It causes more damage than it repairs. So this year, we were able to strike a fatal blow to solitary confinement for pregnant women. So this year, we passed legislation to end solitary confinement for pregnant women because you know
that.
there there's no way that a woman should carry a child, give birth to a child, or nurse a child in a state of isolation.
And so that did pass.
Yes, we passed it with bipartisan support. It was a hard push, but we got it over the finish line. It's one of those pieces of legislation that's been carried for 12 years. So when I came in 2018, I kind of took the reins, and 4 years later, we were able to actually get it passed. Um, Now we also are now focusing our sights on in a solitary confinement for juveniles as well. This past year, we actually did pass legislation to define solitary confinement, which is a major step because one of the reasons that those practices were still being able to be used is because there was no clear-cut definition on what solitary confinement is.
Right. And a lot of people don't know the psychological effects of social isolation and solitary confinement, especially when it's lengthy and the long term mental health repercussions of
Right.
that. So I was glad to read that and to see that. And I'm glad to know that it has passed.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about your journey. I know you graduated from Morehouse College. Well, first of all, Whitehaven High School.
Well, I'm the only person in my family that did not go to Whitehaven High
Oh, you
School.
didn't go to Whitehaven? Oh, where
I
did you
did
go?
not. I went to Westwood for 1 year. Then I went to Overton
Oh,
for
okay.
the rest of my high school career because I was in the capital program where I played piano. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so I'm terrible now. So I can still play chopsticks, but that's about it.
Okay, so an Overton High School graduate and Morehouse College graduate. And then you got a business degree from Morehouse, correct?
Yes. Then I got an education degree from Union University.
Wonderful. And you decided to go into politics. Why?
Well, I guess I'm a glutton for punishment. Um, well, I looked around my neighborhood and my district, and I saw things starting to decline. And even though we've had really good leadership in a position of state representative for a long time, where my predecessor, Johnny Turner, she's and Larry Turner before her, they've done an amazing job. They've carried water in this city for a long time, and I wanted to stand on their shoulders and pick up the buckets and carry the water some myself, because a lot of times we see problems and we're quiet. So instead of remaining quiet, I want to jump up front, grab the reins, and give my best.
Wonderful. So what uh can you tell us about some legislation that you are interested in that we should be watching coming up down the road?
Yes. So right now, I'm in the process of rewriting or retooling the Micro Business Support Act. So, uh, so what we're trying to do is give a shot in the arm for our small businesses because the COVID pandemic did a number on our small businesses, and our small business are the driving force for Tennessee's economy. Many people think that it's those large companies, but actually those businesses with less than 5 employees,
Mm-hmm.
that is the bread and butter of any state's economy, and we want to make sure that we're doing the best we can to keep businesses open, make sure they have the resources needed, and making sure that those people are in a position where they can be successful.
And so what will the Micro Business Support Act do? Will it give them money?
Yes.
Will it,
So, um, what the bill would do, it would provide a shot like $5,000 to small businesses with less than 5 employees, and
okay.
those dollars can go towards uh, paying the rent at your brick and mortar, or paying employees, or equipment upgrades. So we want to make sure that we're giving them the tools that they need to be successful.
Wonderful. So is that something that you all are going to vote on the next session? Where is it now?
So right now, I introduced a piece of legislation this past year. Uh,
Okay.
Of course, the bill numbers would change this time. I believe it was House Bill 862. I believe last time. I could be mixing it up with another one, but um, that bill has gotten a lot of interest, and this time we're going to go ahead and try to go ahead and push it through because we have dollars that have come in from the federal government, and we want to use those in ways that can be an investment to our community as a whole.
Wonderful. So we'll be looking for that.
Yes, yes,
Um,
yes.
why did you decide to come back to Memphis and make Memphis your home? I know you had a lot of opportunities, still do have a lot of opportunities to go wherever you want to go, with your educational background, with your business background. So why Memphis?
Well, um, I'm going to use the words of a young man from my district that went viral. Memphis is the most beautiful land in the world. So, man, I love Memphis. I love Memphis. And I get offended. I love Memphis. And when I go to the state capitol, a lot of times they treat Memphis like we're not part of the state.
Right.
I'm one of those people that get thoroughly offended by it because Memphis is one of the driving forces for this state. It's the most diverse city in the state, and Memphis is a city with so much opportunity. It, I hear people say that Memphis needs to have this and Memphis needs to have that, but those are things that, as a group, as a block, we can bring those things to Memphis because there are so many things that are untapped here. And Memphis, we have water, airways, and roads. So by us being one of the distribution capitals of the world, you know, so many things, so many resources have to come through Memphis. So Memphis is just a perfect place for a revitalization.
Wonderful. So I know that I've heard that there are challenges for a lot of our state legislators with getting things done in Nashville. Um, it's almost like, to quote another urban philosopher, is like there's not enough respect on our name in other parts of the state. So how do you deal with those challenges?
Well, I found out really early in my journey as a representative that it is all about relationships.
Mhm.
A lot of times we have to build relationships and maintain relationships with people who disagree with us on many issues. But I'm finding out if you can get a partner on one issue, use that one issue to get things done for Memphis. Um, Again, I believe Memphis is the greatest place on earth to me. My family is here. Um, so many people that I love, including the people of District 85. And, you know, um, we all have to fight for Memphis. And now, I will say this: I've been blessed where I've been able to get things done some kind of way. Thank God that my parents they taught me a whole lot of rule. They taught me a lot of rural ways. So by a lot of our representatives being rural, um, I'm able to find common ground with a lot of them, even though I live in an urban city. Uh, I'm still able to speak some rural language sometimes as well.
Well, wonderful. Thank you for joining me. Do you have any final closing words for our listeners?
Yes. Everybody, make sure you go out and vote on August 4th. Uh, you know, the ballots are stacked. There are, I believe, 89 people running for office right now. So again, it's a long ballot, but make sure you go through each one of them because these elections are so important to our everyday life, even more so than the federal government. And just know that we are in some fights that we can win. I want to encourage everybody that we can't have our head down because you have people who are gladiators in suits fighting on your behalf, and we have people who are boxing much higher than a weight class. So just know that we can do it. We are doing it, and with you all's help, we can continue to do it.
Well, thank you so much, Jesse Chisholm, and good luck with the election. You
Thank you
have a good
so
night.
much. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. All right. Our next guest this evening is Sheila Bruce-Renfroe. She is running for Shelby County General Sessions Criminal Court Judge Division 9. Welcome, Sheila. How are you this evening?
I'm doing great, Camila. Thank you for having me on Meet the Candidates. I've been so looking forward to it.
Absolutely. So tell us, what is the General Sessions Criminal Court Division 9? What is that court? What happens there?
Okay. General Sessions Criminal Court Division 9 hears misdemeanors. That's cases where the sentence is 11 months and 29 days or less for an offense. And it hears preliminary matters in felony cases where the sentences are over a year. In 2016, a mental health portion was added to this court. I ran for judge in 2014 based on mental health. When it didn't work out, I worked with some other advocates in the mental health area, and this is the court that resulted from that. And that's what I'm really interested in doing for the community, working with that mental health court, Camila.
And so what does it mean, a mental health court? Explain that.
Well, it is for non-violent offenders at this point who have a persistent mental health illness. They already have to be diagnosed with that. Who these people are, we commonly see on the streets as homeless people. These are people who don't have the family, they don't have the resources, and frankly, the insurance to stay on a mental health regimen, on their medications and their talk treatment or whatever therapy that they're going through. They end up on the streets because they don't have these resources, and they get arrested many times a year. And I think that's a waste of resources in itself.
So what kind of resources are there that are available, and how does the court play a role in connecting individuals with these resources?
Well, what happens is they're nonviolent crimes. Again, I want to make sure the public clearly understands that at this particular point. At some point, some other issues may be added, but we don't want to catch people before they become violent. That is the goal of this court. Also, we want to hook them up with resources. Right now, the county is paying for the services, and most of it goes to Alliance Healthcare. Since I've been campaigning for this position, I've learned there's a lot of resources in the private sector. There have been a lot of churches and organizations and individuals who want to help and have programs that will help these individuals. That it's my plan to get them court approved and to link these people up with services. If they can work a job, work a job. I realize all mental health consumers cannot work a job, but basically get them in a position where they can help themselves and get off the streets.
And if you don't mind, it looks like your screen is moving. Is it on a flat surface?
It is. Okay, how about that?
Yes, that's a lot better. Thank you. So tell us a little bit about your background in the law and why you think you are prepared for this position.
Well, I started another career, I guess, right out of college, and I went to law school, and I graduated in 1999. When I came out, I was in a law firm, and I practiced several different areas of the law, but one of the first ones I started with was mental health. I was doing that on the civil side with the mental health commitments that came out of General Sessions Court.
And explain what that means, a mental health commitment.
Well, the standard that everyone understands is danger to yourself or others. And those people are bought in a lot of times when they have arguments with others and others perceive them as a threat of harm to them or themselves, or they threaten danger to themselves. They're bought in, they're evaluated. If the problem persists, they're kept for a length of time until they are stabilized. Here after a certain amount of time to see if their stay in the hospital needs to be continued. 9 times out of 10, that will be remedied and they will be considered stable and they're released. But if not, they're kept in the hospital. This MMHI is where these hearings are held and where a lot of them are housed. There are other hospitals in the community, Lakeside, and others where they receive treatment. But if it still persists, they will go through another process through probate court for long-term mental health illness, and that can go on for months or years. I think you asked me what prepared me for.
Yes.
Okay, so I did that for a number of years, and then I started sitting as special judge over those proceedings, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the people, but I think the thing that really prepared me for it was a family member that I talk a lot about when I go out and speak to the community. I had an uncle who lived with us for about 25 years until his death. He was a war veteran. He came back shell-shocked and with mental health issues. He lived with us that entire time. It was our responsibility to make sure he was safe and stable on his medication. So I understand what it takes to take care of people with mental health issues. I understand the importance of them having their treatment and them being on their medications. I care about those people. And to me, he was just my uncle. He was not anyone that was strange or peculiar. He was just a person who needed a little bit of help. And this is how I feel about the mental health consumers that will appear before this court. So
what do you think are some of the major challenges facing our justice system, in particular in Memphis?
Wow. I think this question was posed to us at a recent forum. And because I'm running for judge, I think the number one thing is people getting to know the jurors, the people that are sitting on the bench. They have to understand the people that appear before them. This is a criminal court. Better than 90% of the people that come before this court are African American. Part of the court is mental health. I understand that. I've had family members with it. I've had friends. I've represented parties in that area. I understand what it takes to keep these people safe and to get them services is what I want to do, and to stop waste of having them arrested dozens of times over their lifetime.
So what is your practice area now?
My practice area now, I'm practicing at juvenile court, and I'm familiar with you from that area. I represent children. I do put together packages for them or plans for them when they have criminal cases before the court to help them with their mental health issues. Many of the children that come through juvenile court do have mental health issues, and it is a priority of the court to make sure that they receive the services that are needed. There are several programs that are available to them through the community, and I think this can be extended into adult court. I also take cases as a juvenile defender and as a defender at 201 Poplar. And there is the Jericho program and other programs that's available to adults. But I want to extend that through the mental health court and layer services for these parties to give them a better chance of success.
Wonderful. What do you consider some of the things that you are passionate about other than mental health in the criminal justice space?
Well, I do believe in, and I get asked this question more often than any question on the campaign trail. Do I believe in cash bail for nonviolent offenders? And I don't. I believe there are a lot of resources and a lot of creative ways to deal with nonviolent offenders other than giving them cash bail. There's ankle monitors, and there's other forms of supervising them without without incarcerating them at that point. And I think there's a lot of areas where we need to seek more better rehabilitation for these parties so they won't reoffend.
Why do you think you are the best qualified candidate for this position?
Well, I understand mental health better. It is the goal of this court, even the incumbent would say that, to make it a full-time mental health court. I fully understand that. I'm prepared to show up for work and do the best that I can for these people, to be fair and impartial, clear, and understand what's going on every day and be prepared to work.
Do you have any closing words for our listeners? I know early voting, there are 2 more days left in early voting, and then election day is August 4th. What do you have to say to the listeners?
It is a long ballot. Many are coming in with their ballots already completed, filled out with the assistance of friends, and that seems to move the lines along much more quickly. But be prepared to be in line for a while, because more and more people are coming to vote. We need you to come to vote. This is a very important ballot. Judges make more of a difference in your life than any other position on the ballot, and there are about almost 40 positions that are available, and then over, I think, 80 people running. You need to know who your jurists are, investigate, research, do whatever you can to find out who they are before you go to vote. It's important, especially in this race. Use your eyes, trust your eyes, your ears, ask your friends who know people down at the court what your experience has been with either me or mine or the incumbent, and vote responsibly. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. I know that we've been trying to get together and link for a little while, but I did want to give you an opportunity to speak and for people to know your name and know who you are. I know it's been hot. I know that you have been working hard on the campaign trail, and I salute everybody who is out on the campaign trail in this heat. Everybody who's chosen to serve our community. So thank you, and thank you for logging in and joining me this evening.
Thank you for having me.
All right, have a good evening.
You too.
All right, so I'm going to take just a quick break. Our next guest joining us in a couple of seconds. If you would bear with me. Okay, hold on. Let me get my figure out. Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to get my video back on. Just bear with me for 1 second. Oh, here we go. All right. Thank you, Professor Mulroy. I know you're busy, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to say a few words to our listeners. We have Professor Steve Mulroy. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
You are running for Shelby County District Attorney, and I'm sure people have seen your ads. They have heard, radio. You have famous people on the radio and on TV talking about why we should vote for you for our next district attorney. But one thing that I want to talk about, because it's very important to me, is conviction integrity units. Can you tell the listeners what that is and whether you think that is something that is important and why?
Yeah, great question. I do think it's important. A conviction integrity unit is a dedicated team of professionals inside the district attorney's office who work separately and independently from the rest of the staff, kind of like internal affairs does in the police department. And their job is to look back on old cases that may have been problematic and review the evidence and see if there's any new evidence and determine if the DA's office got it wrong, if it was a wrongful conviction. And if so, then they will agree with the defense counsel to take it to the judge to remedy the situation. There's one in Nashville that's worked quite well for a number of years. In fact, every couple of months, there's a headline out of Nashville of somebody who's been exonerated by the work of the what they call the conviction review unit out of Nashville. I think because our system isn't perfect, because we know that we're going to get it wrong sometimes, that kind of second look is essential for fairness and justice. And if I were DA, I would definitely implement one. And I'd probably go further and check not only for wrongful convictions, but also for wrongful sentences as well.
Wow. A lot of people are concerned about crime in Memphis. Every time we turn on the news, there is a murder, a robbery, carjacking, all of these things going on. And people are concerned that the leadership, the district attorney's office has to do what needs to be done to curtail crime. What is your response to that?
Violent crime had actually been dropping in the years before the current administration took over in 2011. It's been rising steadily in the decade ever since, almost every year, to the point now where we're not just worst in the state, we're worst in the country per capita for violent crime. Now, I wouldn't blame any one official for that. No district attorney, no mayor, no chief of police is solely responsible. It's a complex problem, but clearly what we've been doing hasn't been working, and something's got to change. Now, I personally think that one of the things that could change and should change is we need to refocus the DA's office on violent crime. We need to stop wasting time on petty prosecutions on things like marijuana possession and being late on fines and fees, going after protesters, going after people like Pam Moses, who got a 6-year prison sentence for attempting to register to vote when the probation office told her that she could, and focus instead on things that matter, like carjacking and domestic assaults and obviously homicides. I think that's one thing that the district attorney's office can do. There are others as well, but clearly while the DA doesn't have sole responsibility, the DA does have some responsibility. And the fact that things have been going out of control steadily for over a decade means that I think we need to vote for change.
Well, I know that you are short on time and you can just let me know when you have to go, but there are certainly some questions that I would like for you to answer.
Well, let's go another couple of minutes and then I do have another interview I've got to do, but I definitely have enjoyed talking with you, so please continue.
Okay. Why do you feel like you are the best candidate for this position?
Well, right now, I'm the only alternative to the incumbent. And so that's a pretty strong recommendation right there, Camilla. But seriously, I've had over 30 years of legal experience. all of it full-time, either in the criminal justice area or the civil rights area, or both. The civil rights area is really important because we've got a real problem with racial discrimination infecting virtually every part of our criminal justice system. And you need someone with that kind of experience to detect it, to root it out, and to remedy it. But more than that, my experience is diverse. I've been both a federal prosecutor and a federal civil rights lawyer. I've done both prosecution and criminal defense in both state and federal court at the trial and appellate level. And then also, for the last 22 years as a law professor at the University of Memphis, I've taught an entire generation of Memphis lawyers to be both prosecutors and defense lawyers. And every one of those years, I was in the courts in Tennessee, working for free on pro bono cases to do criminal justice reform. So I've got experience, but it is diverse experience from a range of perspectives. And I think that balance and that diversity of experience is something that's lacking right now in the current administration, and it's something that we'll need if we really are to do transformational reform.
So we know we often see a lot of people who are getting out of prison who have been wrongly convicted, accused. How can the DA's office, the district attorney, work to prevent these wrongful convictions from happening in the first place? What measures can be put in place?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's a tough thing. You know, prosecutors, I'm sure, are doing their best. I think a change in attitude, change in culture, which starts at the top, to acknowledge that everyone, including prosecutors, make mistakes. And once you make an initial determination, you shouldn't just dig in. You know, as the case unfolds, your attitude should evolve. And as new information pops up, you should constantly be reevaluating your position up to and including the day of trial, after conviction, before sentencing, and post-conviction as well. To take one example, this office, DA's office, routinely opposes post-conviction DNA testing. You know, it's not necessary. We got it right the first time. Well, no, we don't get it right the first time all the time, and we should always be reevaluating evidence. Those are things that I think we can do throughout the entire process. And then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, on the back end, there's the conviction integrity unit also.
So what do you say to those who think that you would be soft on crime, that you would let people go who really need to be in prison, who would terrorize the community?
Right. Well, I'd say that they're wrong and they're misinformed, and they've probably been listening to a lot of propaganda from the Wyrick camp, right? I used to be a federal prosecutor. I have no trouble putting people away. I think we need to, in fact, in many ways, be tougher on violent crime. You know, Mayor Strickland made headlines not too long ago by complaining that 1 out of every 4 aggravated assault convictions last year resulted in no jail time. That's a fair point, but the fault for that lies with District Attorney Wyrick, and those were all plea deals. You can't blame the judges for that. I think the rape kits is another example where thousands of rapes went undetected or unprosecuted because we weren't testing the rape kits. There are other examples that I could give, but I think there's sometimes that the current regime isn't being tough enough on violent crime, but instead is wasting a lot of its time and energy on things that don't matter and nonviolent crime, where we probably could use alternatives to incarceration, like restitution and community service and drug treatment and things of that nature. So people have nothing to fear in that result. I think that ending violent crime, or at least reducing violent crime, has to be our absolute #1 priority. How to keep people safe will be job one, always, at all times, full stop.
I want to talk a little bit about juveniles being transferred to adult court. As we know, Shelby County transfers more juveniles to adult court than anywhere else in the state, and mostly combined, and one of the top in the whole country, one of the top cities. What can we do other than transferring children to adult court?
Right. Well, there's a broad array of rehabilitative services that can be used and should be used in most cases, because the whole point of juvenile court is that, teens' brains are still developing. They still are malleable. They still can be rehabilitated. And if we rehabilitate them, that means they're going to reoffend less later on, which means there'll be fewer victims and we'll all be safer, right? So it's in everyone's interest for us to do this as much as possible. There are rare cases where you have no choice, the person's incorrigible, and adult prosecution is really the only alternative, but it should be a last resort, not a first instinct. And unfortunately, in the DA's office, it is a first instinct. Not only do we do more adult transfer every year than all Tennessee counties combined, 95% of them are Black, a situation which my old shop, the Civil Rights Division of the U.S. Justice Department, proved was done in a discriminatory manner. Now, there are rehabilitative services, a broader range of them. We don't really have as many as we need or the high quality as we need. We need to put more resources into that. But that kind of thing, early intervention, is going to be better for all of us over the long run. And Camilla, I think I actually do need to leave at this point.
Well, thank you so much for agreeing to speak with us. Thank you to all of my listeners. There are 2 more days left in early voting. Of course, Election Day is August the 4th. Everybody have a good night.
Good night. Thank you so much. Go out and vote, everybody.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Take care now.